Hey guys, it's Christian, and I'm here with my fiancé, Kristen.
Hey.
And we're gonna do a review / discussion of the show Avatar: Last Airbender. I've seen the show several times since it first came out, and Kristen just saw it for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Months ago.
Yeah, months ago. So yeah, we're just gonna do like a review / discussion, and we'll just go from there. So yeah, I guess we can start off with, what were your like overall like thoughts and like reactions to the show? Like what were you like after the show ended? Like were you just like, what are your thoughts on everything that happened?
I really liked I liked how it started and ended. Like it ended with a lot more hope, even though there were a lot of downfalls. So I think that's how I felt the most. I felt kind of empowered. Like you can do anything, no matter what you look like, what your gender, whatever it is. Even age-wise, you can do anything. So that's kind of how I felt with it and everything.
Yeah, was there like a specific like character or like moment in the show or like an episode that like really kind of sold that idea for you?
It was Zuko.
Yeah.
That really, he went through the arc of confliction, and I think that's what people have been feeling. So I think he's the most relatable in this, like in 2020. I feel like he's the most relatable because he was going through all the motions. Okay, do I go to the evil? Do I go back? Or do I do good? Do I listen to this person or listen to this person? So I think he was one of my favorites, and he was the most relevant, for 2020.
Yeah, I guess speaking of Zuko, I guess we can just jump into characters and story arcs. We can just start off with Prince Zuko, because he kind of started off in the first episode like he's like really motivated to get the Avatar. He's kind of like out at sea, with his Uncle Iroh, and he's very like one note character. He's like, when you first saw him like in that very first episode, like what were your thoughts on him?
I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I really didn't like him. I thought he was really full of himself. I thought that he was also a little insecure because he's trying to please different people. So I felt that, and he wasn't my favorite character in the beginning at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt the same way about him at first. Like when I first saw him on the screen, he's like this very like intimidating, like scary looking guy, and like obviously he's like the villain of the show. And I really didn't really think much of him, especially in the first season. I really just thought he was just gonna just be like this guy who's like pursuing the Avatar, which was kind of like what the whole first season was, just him pursuing the Avatar and everything. But then by pretty much like a couple episodes in, they introduced a character named Admiral Zhao, or as you call him, Admiral Monkey Sideburns.
He looks like a monkey.
yeah. And he kind of acts like as a rival to Zuko, because after the first episode, Zuko like failed getting the Avatar, because Aang escaped the Fire Navy ship and everything, and the Fire Lord pretty much hires Admiral Zhao to come in and kind of like take the reins from the whole mission of getting the Avatar. So you kind of feel Zuko's kind of feel a little bit bad for him, because like he's like his whole drive is to like get the Avatar, and then suddenly it's just like nope, I'm gonna send this other guy like Admiral Zhao to come in and take over. So
where you learn about his backstory.
Yeah.
You learn about that his dad didn't really respect him, and so then you kind of feel for him. Then you feel guilty that you felt bad that you thought he was the worst character. And then so I think that's once they got more into his storyline, I feel like it was a little bit better once they dug below the surface.
Yeah, exactly. The storm, that's episode 13 in the show. Kind of tells a whole backstory of Aang and Zuko, and they're like parallel stories, and you find out like why Zuko was banished from the Fire Nation, and like how he got the scar, and like why his whole motivation to like actually find the Avatar and everything. So I thought that's actually one of my favorite episodes, and I think that's the episode that kind of like changed the way the whole series like went. So you just think it's gonna be this fun kids show, Aang's going from like nation to nation and just trying to like learn the elements, learn water bending and everything. Like Zuko's like in every episode just pursuing him, but then like you really feel like bad for these characters, and you like know their whole backstory and stuff, like Zuko's and Aang's backstory. But yeah, speaking of backstory, maybe we can like talk about backstory a little bit. I guess starting off with like Aang finding out that he's the next Avatar, like in the cycle, and like the fact that because in kind of like the lore of Avatar, you're really only supposed to find out that you're Avatar when you're like 16, between like 16 to 18. But the monks, especially Monk Yatso, told Aang when he was 12, just because like he really loved Aang and he thought like he'd be able to handle it. But clearly like the other monks were like, no, he's not ready. He needs more training, and like Aang also felt the same way, so he just like decided to just leave the air nomads, and yeah, and then he got caught up in the storm, and then fell into the ocean, went into the Avatar state, froze in the iceberg. So yeah, what do you think of like Aang's whole decision to like leave the air nomads and just not pursue his whole journey of being the Avatar and kind of growing into that identity?
I think obviously there's some sort of like insecurity or scared, like you're feeling that because basically all the weight of the world is on you. So I think to avoid it is what humans normally do. You try to avoid as much conflict as possible. So if he just needed to find that inner strength, and I think he did find that. So I don't know if it was a good decision or a bad decision, but if I say good, he's kind of learning more about himself and finding his inner strength in order to do a better job. So if he were to just go into it and be like, I'm the Avatar, I'm gonna go crush everybody, he may have the physical strength, but he may not have the mental strength. So I think he had to find the mental strength first in order to get the physical strength.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's actually like articles of like, what if Aang like never ran away? Like, what would happen? And they actually kind of reveal that a little bit in season 3. There's an episode called The Avatar and the Fire Lord, where it talks about Avatar Roku, the Avatar before Aang, and then Fire Lord Sozin, the great-great-grandfather of Zuko. And it talks about that whole backstory of them being friends, then becoming enemies, and then Sozin wanting to try to find like a way to kind of gain power. So once he gets Roku out of the way, he decides to wipe out all the air nomads in order to kind of break the Avatar cycle. And yeah, and I think if Aang stayed with the air nomads, he would have just been wiped out with the other air nomads. And then even Katara kind of says that in, I think it's the first episode or second episode, where they go to one of the air temples and they see like all the airbenders are like wiped out. They see like the skeleton of Monk Yatso. And like Aang really realizes like, yeah, maybe, being in that iceberg for 100 years and, letting kind of like the war rage on, even though it was like a terrible choice of me kind of just abandoning everything, maybe this is the time that I kind of need to rise up, rise to the challenge and become the Avatar. So yeah, I guess we can kind of go on to the next topic of Katara and Sokka finding Aang in the iceberg and telling him about the 100-year war and that he needs to be the Avatar. Like, what are your thoughts on them?
Well, I love Katara. I'm always for a strong female, along with strong males. But I love that she's stubborn and that she does everything she can out of love for people. I really feel like she's doing it out of her heart, and she's caring, and she gets frustrated with people. She helps people all because she cares. So I like her, and that she becomes stronger throughout the seasons, and I love that she gets more confident. Because I remember at the very beginning, she was really hesitant to use her water bending, and then at the very end, she's just going at it, and it's crazy. So I think she also had a mental transformation along with a physical one. And I think Sokka, I think one big thing he was there for was comedic relief, because if you don't have this comedic character, I mean, how can you not love us like Sokka? Like, he's kind of that one where he's gonna say something at the right moment, and it's funny and it works, or the facial expressions that they gave him, like he's just the best. And I think he also grew into himself too. Like, he became someone, like, he started with his boomerang, and then he ended up with sword.
The sword,
he ended up with his sword, and I just think that shows also his mental transformation and his physical transformation. So all these characters went through that cycle of finding it, and that's how they're able to come together. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think one of the main themes of Avatar is like coming together in like community. Like, it's like a small band of heroes getting together and kind of like taking on the world, and like kind of going into this war and not really knowing like what they should be doing, what they can be doing. I think season 1 especially is like the arc that the main three characters go on, from like starting off in like the southern water tribe and then going up to the northern water tribe, and like all the changes that they make, and like the entire first season, like they're kind of just going from place to place and seeing like the way that the wars kind of damaged, you know, all these different nations and different tribes, and like just them kind of going out of like their little bubble and seeing like the whole world like ahead of them and everything. And I think like one big arc is like when they finally get to the North Pole, and Katara is kind of in conflict with Paku, who's like the waterbending master that they're supposed to train with Aang, and this whole thing of like the whole like girl power thing of like, oh, in their tribe like they don't teach women waterbending, they only use their waterbending for healing instead of like actual combat. So what are your thoughts on that, of like kind of Katara's arc from going from like kind of like this meek girl who kind of knows her waterbending but kind of messes up, to kind of being this kind of full-blown master and taking on the master, Paku, at the end of season 1.
Yeah. Well, I think also it has to do with, you know, current times. I think this show is really relevant for right now. You know, we're fighting for equal rights, women's rights, all this stuff. So I feel like she also felt, okay, what about me? Like, why she's timid because she's taught to be timid. So I think I think it's with anybody or anything, even, you know, how you train animals, like it's how you train them, it's how you bring them up. So if you bring them up to be like, women do this, this, and this, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna believe that. But I think she wanted to break the mold, and she wanted to do something different and show, no, I can do more than just heal, which is great. We need those people too. We need the healing, and we need the nurturing. But then again, you know, she wanted to prove, she's like, no, I can be a fighter too. Like, I'm just as good as anybody else. I can just do it a different way.
Yeah.
And so I think if people look at that and go, oh, okay, like I have these skills, how can I bring these skills to the table where someone might be lacking them? They can balance each other out.
Yeah.
And so I think that she shows that who cares if you're a female or male? You're only as strong as you think you are. So if you think that you're weak, you are going to perform weak. And if you think that you're strong and believe you're strong, then you will probably perform stronger. And I know the saying is, if you're by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So already if you think, oh, I can't do it, I'm not going to be able to do this, okay, well then you're telling yourself that, you're most likely not going to be able to do it to the best of your ability. But if you're like, no, I may not be able to do this yet, but I will, that's the strongest mentality. So I think that's what she was at. She was like, you know, I can't do it right now, but I'm going to get better. And the fact that she pushed the guy to teach her and like do everything, like she kind of forces people to get what she wants, which I mean, not always the best thing to do, but it shows her dominance, and she's trying to create a pathway for herself. So
yeah, definitely.
That's how I feel about her.
Avatar is definitely filled with a lot of like strong female characters for sure. Like pretty much like for every strong male character, there's like a equally strong like female character next to them, and which is great. Why like pretty much half the fan base of Avatar is like women and everything. It's like one of those few fandoms where like, you know, like there's equal parts male and female fans, which is really good. But speaking of strong female characters, maybe we can talk about Toph. Toph.
Love Toph.
Yeah.
She's the girl version of a beast mode. Like she's pretty legit. I love her. I mean, I love the fact she's blind. So also this also teaches that disabilities mean nothing. Like just because you have disability just means you have heightened senses of your other. Like it doesn't mean a thing. You can still do everything normal and or, you know, as normal as you can. She goes from earthbending to metal bending.
Yeah.
I mean, she teaches herself that, and she has it in her head. No, I'm going to do this. We're getting out of here.
Yeah.
So I just think that's really cool. They brought her in, and you know, she can just the dynamic of her. I don't know. She's like a missing piece. So it's like they needed her in order to, you know, teach Aang and to teach, you know, Katara about, okay, it's not all about you, and teach Sokka, like all this, you know, it's like they need another female, but another strong female. So, I mean, to bring her in, and I mean, they found her fighting. So she's this little tiny little thing, but good things come in small packages, and big things come in small packages. And I love her. I think she's great in the fact that she uses they use the blindness as a strength and not a weakness. And also that shows, you know, kids who maybe they're disabled, like they can't walk, or they are deaf, or they're blind, or they have a learning disability. Like, it shouldn't stop you from pursuing your dreams. You can always find ways around it. But it's also important to note that it's the people you surround yourself with that will help you continue your strengths. And I think that they all do that. They all play off each other's strengths, and they pick up each other's weaknesses. And so I think that's what makes them the dynamic but the dynamic group that they eventually do become and are.
Team Avatar.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
Maybe we can talk about kind of Aang's journey throughout the 4 nations. So we kind of talked about them going from like the Southern Water Tribe to the Northern Water Tribe. But yeah, maybe we can talk about like the other nations of them traveling from the Northern Water Tribe to eventually, you know, Ba Sing Se, where the whole like conspiracy happens, where they're trying to kind of warn the Earth King that this comet's coming that'll give the firebenders like unbelievable strength, but also that there's an eclipse coming, and that'll kind of render all the Fire Nation powerless. So yeah, maybe we can just talk about that the whole book 2 arc. Book 2 is actually my favorite arc out of the entire series, where like, you know, Aang learns earthbending, you go to Ba Sing Se, the whole conspiracy and everything. But yeah, what are your thoughts on book 2? I think the first episode is the Avatar state. That's the episode where kind of Aang tries to master the Avatar state the best way he can. So they go to like that Earth nation, and like the general's trying to test him in order to like, you know, trigger the Avatar state within Aang and everything. Yeah, what are your thoughts on kind of like that first batch of episodes?
Again, I don't think his mental strength was that strong. Like, I don't think I think he wanted to be like a one and done. He wanted to be super quick, didn't want to be patient with anything. Again, he's us. He's humans. We don't want anything to wait for. We want it now. We have so many things. I think his whole issue was mentally preparing himself for it, and that's why he couldn't quite get into it. But once he like took his time, it was better.
Yeah, because I think the problem with the Avatar state was in like the first book, it's usually kind of triggered by emotions, like high emotions, and he's not really able to control it. But at the end of that episode, of the Avatar state episode, is when kind of Avatar Roku kind of tells him that, you know, the dangers of being in Avatar state. Like, yeah, it'll give you unbelievable strength, but you're also at your most vulnerable if you can't control it, and you can be killed in the Avatar state if you can't control it.
He got taken a few times. He got stolen.
yeah, that actually happened in like the first book, where he wasn't necessarily in the Avatar state, but he was his spirit
Zen.
was in in the spirit
was in this
world.
like Zen
So his body was kind of like, you know, very, you know, limp and everything, and then Zuko was able to kind of sweep in and take him. But good thing, you know, his spirit was able to go back into his body. He was able to wake back up, and then, you know.
Spoiler alert.
This is a spoiler review, so it's all good. If you haven't seen Avatar: Last Airbender at this point, then I don't know. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
Yeah.
I guess before we go into the finale of book 2, we can talk about the new characters in book 2, especially Azula. Azula, Mai and Ty Lee, Zuko's loving sister.
Well, you need those characters.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling from the very beginning that her henchwomen were not really with her. Like, there's no way. They were, you can already tell they were getting irritated with her when she kept telling them what to do. And she just had one thing in mind. She wasn't open to anything else. She had one thing. She was going to do it, and that was it, and do whatever it took. But the other girls, I mean, they had a heart. Yeah. And you can see that at the end of book 3. So, and I really felt like they did from the beginning, too. Like, I was like, okay, these girls are just it's the popular girl and her posse. And the posse always turns their back on the popular mean girl. Always. Yeah. So they weren't gonna stick. I knew it. And then of course, you know, throw boys into the mix and they really aren't gonna stick. Yeah. Because you have Zuko. Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, you throw boys in the mix and then the mean girl will always get taken away.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Especially like cool boys like Zuko and Sokka. Yeah. So I don't know. I think her vendetta got the better of her and it just consumed her. And that also shows how that can be toxic to you because that's all you think about, it's all you care about. You shut out everything else that is worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can talk about a little bit later with book 3, but with book 2, the whole kind of twist ending of Zuko's arc, and he starts off, at the end of book 1, he loses, and then it's kind of him and Iroh are kind of like off on their own, kind of doing their own thing. Like Zuko's still motivated to capture the Avatar, but pretty much, his dad's double disowned him. He's kind of brought Azula in the mix to go after the Avatar and everything. So Zuko and Iroh are definitely like on their own. They feel betrayed because at the beginning of book 2 is when Azula comes into the picture and like, oh yeah, we can go home and everything. And then the prison guard says, okay, we're taking the prisoners home. I was like, wait a minute. So they, Zuko and Iroh escape, and they cut off their ponytails, and they're like, okay, we're not going to be affiliated with the Fire Nation anymore.
Fresh.
Yeah, we're going to be like kind of, refugees and just try to find safety. And then kind of as book 2 goes on, Zuko, he kind of, realizes like, how kind of terrible the world is. And Iroh's kind of really trying to support him and say like, yeah, you don't need to be pursuing the Avatar. You could just have this new life and be on your own and everything. So he kind of sways more towards the uncle, but then Azula comes back in the picture and says like, no, you can come back home. You can be, Father will love you again. And then at the very end of the season, Zuko makes that switch kind of like to the dark side again.
That's right. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Zuko's switch?
I thought he was an idiot. I was like, dude, no, you're just doing that because you're trying to find acceptance. You're trying to fulfill something that you're not going to fulfill. You're trying to be someone that you're not supposed to be, and he knew it. I know he knew it. I know that he was trying to see, okay, is the grass greener on the other side? And he realized, no, it's not that good. He went to the dark side, went back to Fire Nation because he wanted to assert his dominance. But once he found out that his sister was more dominant, he was like, let me just be my own person. So I was not happy, but it had to be a part of his story. Yeah. So he could decide, oh yeah, I really need to be here for the good side of good versus evil.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think like his whole switch back to the good side would have been as impactful, because I think originally the writer said he was going to turn to the good side at the end of book 2, but they thought like it would be even better for his arc if he got worse at the end of season 2, and then as book 3 goes on, it's like his kind of redemptive journey. So that's what I really like about book 3. It's like his whole kind of turn back from evil back into good, and then by like halfway through book 3, it's a whole invasion. And then Zuko kind of realizes, like, yeah, this isn't, I got everything I wanted, but it's not at all what I wanted it to be. So he kind of makes that switch back to the good side and joins Team Avatar, and, actually teaches Aang firebending and everything. Yeah, what were your thoughts on, Zuko's switch back to the good side, and then his kind of initiating himself into Team Avatar?
This poor guy. I love that he went back. I really feel that's where his heart was, and he was gonna be on the team that was going to win in the end. That's how I felt. The group's hesitation was very understandable. Yeah. Because he had done a lot. He had accidentally burned Toph. He had stolen the Avatar. He had attacked Katara. He had, fought with, like, he's done everything. He didn't help them in a lot of ways, and so trying to convince them that he had turned good. And I think he did that when he was talking about firebending, and then Aang just goes, you're supposed to be my firebending teacher. And so I love that one. Their dance was really great. I like their firebending dance. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
But I just think it humbled both of them. One, it brought Zuko down to a more personable level, and it elevated Aang to be more of a powerful character. So I don't know. Again, I think it's just a good. It had to happen. It was full circle. There needed to be, 5 main characters in the final group, and that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, each of them is kind of like coming into their own and everything. Kind of like going back to like that episode of Avatar and the Fire Lord and everything, where the Fire Lord originally, he's supposed to be the most the Fire Nation's like kind of like the most prosperous nation, and you know, Fire Lord Sozin was like, oh, we need to share this wealth with the world, but his interpretation was like, you know, ruling over all of it. But really, like what the Fire Lord should be doing is kind of like governing all the nations and like having like this peace and everything. And like Zuko kind of rises up to that occasion and everything. And then also on the flip side, Aang is kind of like rising into his avatar role, like being like the piece, the bridge between two worlds, like the spirit world and the real world, like mastering all 4 elements and everything. So that's really kind of what their arc is in book 3. And then we finally get to the finale and everything, that big 4-part finale. Super epic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the finale and everything?
Well, I remember watching it and kind of being like, okay, like how is it actually going to end? Like what's going to actually happen? And then like him with the Fire Lord was pretty legit. That fight, and him also, I remember him trying to like hold back all of his power, because I know if he exerted all of it, he didn't want to kill anybody.
Yeah.
So which I commend him for. But he also wanted to win. So he was in that state of, okay, what do I do? And then he went back into his like little Aang self and got really insecure and kind of was like, okay, you know, I can't do it. And then, no, I'm gonna have to do it. No, I can't do it. So he's going back and forth. And so I think he had to also pull in everything that he had learned to defeat him. And he never did kill him, which he was able to, again, spoiler, he was able to defeat him without killing him.
Yeah.
And then the other with, I love how Katara and Zuko teamed up, but then it turned out to be, you know, Zuko fighting his sister.
Yeah.
And then Katara did help, like you could see that nurturing side of her come out again. So she dropped the warrior side and you saw the nurturing side to help him, and she was sad about it. And for a moment I thought they were gonna put those two together. Oh, yeah. In all honesty. I was like, okay, wait a minute, like what's going on? So I really like that. And then you have Toph, Suki, and Sokka fighting in one part. So you have 3 parts of this one battle. Yeah. And each part had to be won by the same people in order for it to be successful. Yeah. And, you know, they did. They all came together, so.
Yeah. Definitely. Came together. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that, I love the finale. It's so good. And, like, all of them kind of, like, you know, are fulfilling their destinies. Like, it's like, I think one of the great things about Avatar is that from the very first episode, you know, Aang's gonna master all 4 elements and defeat the Fire Lord, but actually seeing it like on the screen is just like, this is amazing. And the fact that you don't really know, like, how is Aang gonna defeat the Fire Lord, and the fact that he uses, you know, energy bending, as it's called, like taking away the Fire Lord's energy and taking away his fire bending. I think that's probably the most peaceful way to do it. Like, some people might think like oh, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, just Lion Turtle just comes out of nowhere and, you know, just gives him the power to energy bend. But I think it's good, you know, because, you know, that's who Aang is. He's not gonna go in and kill anybody. He's gonna, you know, try to find the most peaceful resolution to, you know, a conflict. And I think that was like the best way to do it. So yeah, I really loved it. You know, Aang, you know, finally becomes the Avatar. You know, he goes from being the boy in the iceberg to finally becoming Avatar Aang. Then Zuko becomes the new Fire Lord. He defeats Azula and everything, who goes all crazy and whatnot. And then, you know, they are sent to prison and everything's good. But yeah, I really love the ending. You know, Zuko and Aang becoming friends, becoming their rightful roles and everything. Then Aang and Katara finally getting together.
Yes.
In the end. Katang. Hashtag Katang. Yeah.
Very last moment.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought that was really good. And yeah, you know, all the storylines are all wrapped up and everything, and you know, there's just, you know, just a great finality to the story until Legend of Korra. But but that's a whole nother story. Yes. But yeah. Do you have any other like closing thoughts? Anything that we didn't really go over that you want to talk about real quick or anything?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was our discussion on Avatar: Last Airbender. Like, obviously, we really love the show, and yeah, I'm glad that you guys were able to come and join us on this journey through the 4 nations. Yeah. But yeah, it was good. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe for more videos. And if you'd like to see more reviews and discussions, just like comment down below which series or movie you'd like us to review next. what other videos you like to see Kristen in more. That'd be great too. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye guys.